Hello everybody, my name is Pixie People. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you're new. It took me a couple minutes to figure out a what if idea, considering I feel like most of them, if I tried doing them, they would just be boring and repetitive. So I think the healing one would be kind of repetitive to the all for one, but I think I'll mix it up slightly. Anyways, let's get right into the what if. So we start our story as Deku as a 5-year-old getting into a bit of a tumble with Bakugo. I mean wrestling. Bakugo trying to bully Deku while Deku just thinks it's a fun game. And Bakugo is actually on the back foot here, because I say so. Baku decides to use his quirk like a cheater and burns Deku's arm. And Deku, crying, holds it until we see a green light heal it, and then he heals himself. And then Bakugo just doesn't say anything about it, and Deku just lets it slide because he's fine, and he's a kid, so. And so then Deku shows his mom that he can heal people and himself by when his mom accidentally cuts himself. When Iko accidentally cuts herself while cooking dinner, and Deku heals it, and Iko jumps with and they already know he has a quirk. And then they set its name as Recovery, just because that sounds cool. And so people don't really diss Deku because Deku has a quirk, and his quirk is actually pretty strong. True, it's only for supporting, but it's still strong if you actually think about it for like a split second, because Deku can heal himself. So if you stab him, he can just kick you off himself and heal himself and stab you. So kind of overpowered in people's eyes though. So in this timeline, Deku obviously works towards becoming a hero and works on his body, so at least it's harder for people to hurt him. And so Deku does that for his whole life until up to the middle school, where everyone says to become heroes. The teacher says that, and no one disagrees with Deku wanting to go to UA. They actually clap when Deku says he's going to go to UA, because they know, yo, new hero, let's go. Honestly, Baku in this timeline is quiet. He doesn't like the fact that Deku gets all the attention, because his quirk is... Actually, no. In this timeline, Baku is just kind of an acquaintance with Deku. They were friends back in the day, but like acquaintances now, really. Baku and Deku really don't have any friends in this timeline, because neither of them are really popular. They're really just cool quirks, and you don't really want to approach them, because in this timeline, Baku is quiet, and so is Deku. Deku more of a joyful looking face, while Baku more of a scowl looking face. Anyways, Deku just eventually goes down to the street, like in every timeline, but of course, in this timeline, the slime villain busts out of the thing, but Deku just dodges it instead of getting caught immediately. And Deku dodges the slime villain for a while, because, you know, what else is he supposed to do? His healing's not really offense, it's more defense. But eventually All Might shows up and punches the slime villain, dropping it and putting it into a bottle. And tells Deku thank you for distracting the villain, and he's sorry that he wasn't here quicker. But Deku, out of breath, says it's alright, waving his hand. with All Might saying, "It was pretty heroic of you to stand up to that villain like that and not just run away." And Deku says that, well, there wasn't really no other choice, but thanks. And so All Might and Deku chat for a sec, until All Might says he's got to get, because you can see him steaming slightly, knowing he's going to get out of the big form. So Deku just says, could he sign his notebook? And he does really quickly, and All Might runs. Doesn't jump this time, he just runs. So no slime villain incident. Because he knows if he jumped, he would probably run out of steam and become little again. So anyways, Deku just goes back home and trains for the 10 months. All Might wasn't really impressed by Deku or like his heroics, he was just like, thanks kid. So, no all for one in this timeline. One for all in this timeline, sorry. Okay. So Deku trains on his healing, on how hard he can heal himself. So, eventually after all the 10-month training arc, Deku gets to the UA doors, wearing, I guess, I would say, a black one piece with baggy pants, with basically think Gogeta's fit, but with a puffy coat and a shirt. That's basically Deku's fit right now. And so Deku, walks in and meets Ochako, because she was also walking in. And so they talk for a second, because they just bumped into each other. Let's say they, actually bumped into each other. Not, metaphorically, physically bumped into each other. So they talked for a second on how they would pass, and then Deku says, good luck, and she says the same. And then they go to separate areas to test. And Deku aces it, no problem. So after the test concludes, they go to the robot test. So they're all standing around. Ochako walks over to Deku this time. Ida doesn't mind, because he wasn't looking that direction. So Ochako and Deku talk, and then Deku thinks, don't you think it's weird that they make us wait around, even though heroes never wait around to help? Ochako thinks that's pretty strange, and she decides to be a little devious and ask, do you want to see if this is a test? And Deku shrugs and says, why not, with a devious grin on. So they both fly over the gate and land with Ochako's quirk, and they decide they're going to work together. Quick friendship, they basically clicked as friends, basically. And so him and Ochako team up and fuck up all the robots, and yeah, of course President Might says that was the test, and then everyone goes running. Anyways, so Deku and Ochako fuck up all the robots, and eventually the 1.0 pointer shows up, but Deku and Ochako just run away from it. Ochako does not get trapped under the rubble this time. No one really does. No one gets trapped. The 0 pointer just walks around the whole time, walking around, while everyone collects more points. So, no one got hero points, I guess. They all got destructive points. So, him and Ochako actually stay talking and actually walk with each other while they talk on how they think they definitely made it in, considering how many robots they destroyed. And Ochako says she really hopes that she gets in, and hopes he got into, because he seems pretty cool and pretty heroic too. So Deku and Ochako eventually part ways, and then they wait a week, and then boom, the test I guess, I don't know, I guess the internship, whatever it's called, I don't care. So the letter comes in, and Inko shows Deku, and Deku is really happy and slightly tears. So him and Ochako catch up again after the week, and they get to learn more about each other. Anyways, they eventually, Aizawa shows up and says, "Take a seat, you're being too loud," and he wasted 5 minutes of my time. And Deku says sorry. Aizawa didn't hear it, but Deku says it. So they all sit down and wait for the and they wait for instructions, and instructions are given on what they're gonna do, and Aizawa says they're gonna go test their quirks, and Deku stresses out for a second because his quirk isn't really physical. So he gets a bit worried. So they all get to the locker rooms and get their jumpsuits on, and then Aizawa says what they're going to do first, which is throwing. Remember not to say after a lot, because like that's really annoying. Sorry. So Deku and Ochako basically are just chatting while this is happening. Let's just say Deku basically gets to like around the good mark, and then Aizawa reveals it was a test just to see how the quirks were, not to get kicked. Forgot to mention that, he said that, but he said that. So after Deku and Ochako talk more, Ida eventually, no, I'll cut that. So Deku and I guess just chills for a sec when they get back to the class. Then they learn a couple of new stuff. And so Deku leaves to go to school, and then they get the whole All Might showing up, and Deku gets shocked because, he didn't know. So let's just say Deku and Ochako are a team still. And yeah, they still fight Bakugo and Ida. Yeah, by the way, Ida knows Ochako, so Deku doesn't know Ida that much, but Ochako does. So after, I said it again. So when All Might says go, they all go in. And when Bakugo comes around the corner, not purposely trying to fight, actually purposely trying to fight, but it's not for the reason in like the original. He just wants to show off. And so Deku says to Ochako to just leave while he fights Bakugo. And Bakugo says that's fine with him, and Ochako walks past, with everyone saying, "What an idiot," and slapping their heads in the watching room. And so Deku gets into a stance with Bakugo getting into his explosive stance. So they start battling, with Bakugo throwing the first explosion, with Deku tanking the explosion and healing himself. Oh, by the way, he doesn't need to hold out his hands or do anything like that. He can just heal his whole body without even doing anything. It's just like an instinct he can do. So basically what happens is Bakugo and Deku just battle until Bakugo gets exhausted and Deku is fully nothing. He's perfectly fine. But Deku, sensing that Ochako is still not done and wanting to fight a bit more, heals Bakugo to full. And Bakugo says he'll regret that. But Deku says, "No, I won't." And Bakugo gets annoyed and immediately pops his grenade thing. And Deku wasn't expecting that and tries to dodge because he knows he is not going to heal from that. He dodges it kind of, hitting his arm, and it scorches his arm kind of, but it's fine, he can heal it. He breaks through a couple walls and rubble goes onto him. Bakugo laughing, telling Deku he shouldn't have done that. But Deku crawls out of the rubble, throwing a pebble at Bakugo before he leaves, with Bakugo saying as resilient as ever, Izuku, and I guess Deku says, "You know it, dog." Yes, that was some slang. What you gonna do about it? I'm kidding. We'll just cut that. You know it, Bakugo. Yes, they're on a first name basis because they're not really that close. So Bakugo and Deku clash again, with Ida and Ochako still fighting up there, with Ida actually winning in this timeline, just because I say so, because of none of that uppercut stuff. And it's basically just a long fight between Deku and Bakugo, until, Deku and Bakugo eventually clash with each other, Bakugo getting knocked out and Deku clinging on and healing himself to full. So he just walks up to Ida, and just when Ida goes to strike at him, he just dodges him and just throws him against a wall, and then touches the bomb with 2 seconds on the clock, with Ida sighing and getting up, saying "well played." And Deku says that was fun. Forgot to mention his hero outfit is really just let's say a white jumpsuit with green accents, with the puffy jacket, but it's black instead of it's just black. It's basically what Deku was wearing, but updated slightly to be more heroic looking. It also has a mask thing, like in the original timeline. So, after Deku wins, he just goes back home, and that's really it. So eventually they get on the bus, and everyone talks about who's the strongest, with Bakugo actually chiming in saying Deku's is actually pretty strong compared to his. Shocker, Bakugo complimenting someone. But, you know, this is in character for this Bakugo. There's no really ego boost. He doesn't have a lot of ego this timeline. Because he hasn't been... He's basically been humbled by Deku's quirk. That fight with Deku humbled him. Kind of. So everyone starts to agree, but everyone says that Todoroki... They look over to Todoroki, who's sitting there with his horrendous hero outfit. And they say his quirk is probably ice and fire, considering if you look at him, he kind of looks like he has that aesthetic. With Todoroki sighing when they mentioned he had a fire quirk. That's for later though. So eventually they get there and get out, and like they say, Baku and Deku are next to each other because they're starting to get back into that whole friendship again, but slowly. With Ochako also being there, gushing about how she loves this hero and she's her favorite. With Deku saying his favorite hero is, I think, Snipe in this timeline, just because how laid back Snipe is, and he likes his voice. Bakugo's favorite is still All Might, so that's no difference. So after they're done talking about their favorite heroes, the villains open the portal. Korikiri opens a portal, and they all walk out with Aizawa jumping down to fight them. With him saying to the black hole lady to keep his class safe. So Deku destroys, I guess, stay safe right up there. Until Korigiri shows up and Bakugo, being Bakugo, jumps ahead, and with Kirishima also being there. Because they're still pals. So they both go to fight Korigiri, but, you know, it goes exactly how it went in the original timeline, where everyone got teleported to different regions. With Deku with, you know, again, Tsuyu and Mineta. And so they're about to fall into the water, and they land in the water, with Tsuyu eventually, with Tsuyu grabbing Deku and Mineta. And when they get on the boat, Deku realizes this is not a safe area, and says he's going to drive the boat onto land. And they say, it doesn't even have keys, and Deku says to find the keys. So he gets into the boat's cabin and sees there's actual keys right in the ignition. So he pulls them and starts driving the boat, with the villains not being able to stop it because Deku's going full throttle. We'll say this takes it took Deku long enough to get over to the cabin, as long as it did Deku to shoot the whirlpool. And so they're full throttling, and the villains can't stop them, and Deku drives the entire boat onto land, with the Nomu actually about to do the thing he did in the original timeline to Aizawa, but Deku stops it with the whole ass boat, and Nomu catches the boat, actually buckling because it's a big boat, and Deku does a little bit of a stealth attack and jumps behind the boat back into the water with no one noticing, except of course Mineta and Tsuyu. And Tsuyu and Mineta figure out Deku's plan and actually distract the villains to look at them, make them think they did it. So Deku swims over to a different area with the Shigaraki scratching his neck, enraged by what they did to the Nomu. Neck. actually dropping him to his knees, with Deku then punching off the hand from Shigaraki's face, which makes him tweak out and go to look for it. With Kurogiri barely being able to react to it, Deku grabs a stone on the ground that the Nomu broke off when fighting Aizawa, and smashed Kurogiri's metal shell with it, which made him stun, and Deku just started punching it. Yes, of course, he has some strength because of his quirk, but mostly because of his built-up muscle. So the Kurogiri gets disoriented with the Nobu still being stuck. So Deku, while disorienting the two villains, he runs over to Shigaraki, going to get him. But Shigaraki spins his hand around, touching Deku's arm, actually decaying it slightly, making one of his fingers fall off, his pinky. But Deku pulls his arm back, with his entire arm basically being half split, but he actually heals the full arm back, including the pinky. Yes, healing is kind of insane. And he basically backhands Shigaraki to the ground when he was going to touch him. But it actually drops Shigaraki almost immediately, almost knocking him out. But he's up and at him. Remember, this guy's a gamer, not a guy that's been working out. He doesn't work out and doesn't have a lot of durability on him. Eventually, Kurogiri gets disoriented and grabs Deku into a portal, sending him up to the highest point in the USJ. But Deku basically skydive shoots himself to the water, basically smashing his back to the ground, breaking his back, but he heals it and swims up to see All Might appear, and the Nomu finds his strength and pushes the boat back into the water, sinking the boat into the water. And Shigaraki puts on his mask and tells the Nomu to kill All Might, considering that was his job. So Nomu and All Might fight happens the exact same, with, again, Todoroki saving him and Baku dropping Kurogiri. But when the clash starts happening, Baku gets separated from Kurogiri. And when Baku, when all that happens, Deku runs over to All Might and starts to heal him, because after that punch, it looked like it took a lot out of him, which actually heals back his timer. So when he feels it, he's good in his mind, and thanks Midoriya for healing him. Saying his quirk really comes in handy, doesn't it? And Deku says, yeah, it does. So, that's where I'm going to end this right here. And, yeah, that's it. Yeah, Shigaraki and Kurogiri left, of course. Hope you like the video. Like, subscribe, hit the post notification bell. I will see all y'all later in the next part, of course. Peace.